Welcome to today's Maritime Innovation Update on the topic Market Insights of Autonomous Maritime Systems, or on Autonomous Maritime Systems, the results of an industry review. My name is Julius Tüchle. I've been with the Fraunhofer Center of Maritime Logistics for the past 5 years in the Department of Ports and Transport Markets, and in the context of this study, I was responsible for the statistical analysis. And today with me is my colleague Jonathan, who will now say a couple of words about himself.
Sure. Hi, my name is Jonathan Weisheit. I've been working at Fraunhofer CML since 2019. I'm a research associate and business developer for research projects. I'm one of the main authors of the study, and today we're going to present you the main results of the study.
Also, we want to remind you this session is being recorded. Please turn off your microphone and your camera, and by participating, you obviously agree to our terms of use. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Okay, let's dive into it. So last year, about 1 year ago, Fraunhofer CML started on behalf of the German Maritime Center, or the Deutsches Maritimes Zentrum here in Hamburg. We started working on a study that was taking a closer look at the autonomous maritime system market. So we're talking here of autonomous maritime systems, which includes, but is not limited to, maritime autonomous surface ships. The study was already published end of last year. Unfortunately, is only available in German language. Only thing available in English language is the management summary, which is part of the study, and today's presentation with the main results or key insights that we're going to give here today. We worked on that, as I said, on behalf of German Maritime Center. Contractor was Bergmann Marine, and together with Bergmann Marine, Fraunhofer FKIE, Fraunhofer CML worked on that industrial survey. And we're going to give you now a little brief insight in what we did and how we got started. So we will take a look today at the research references that we used to prepare our industry survey. Then we're going to take a look at the levels of activity and a closer look at our survey participants. And then we're going to present key results and a little market overview. What we're trying to achieve with that study was that we're trying to characterize the AMS market in the years between 2017 and 2023. We identified relevant players in that field. So any company, research organization, or university that is involved somewhat with our autonomous maritime systems. So they could be offering a product, involved in a research project, offer services around that. But we were only focusing on industrial players because we were taking a closer look on what is already available on the commercial market and what business models might be available in a few years based on AMS. So this is then why we identified these industrial players and we prepared a survey for them. Our main references for research are gray literature. So we're taking a closer look at what companies or organizations are offering, what products are there, what services are there, and what technology is needed to operate autonomous systems. Within the study, we were addressing 6 relevant segments. These are namely offshore, shipping, harbors, shipbuilding, hinterland logistics, and suppliers. We were taking a look at them separately, and also we were comparing them within the study. And we were trying to look what is different within these segments and what are their levels of activities. We already identified pretty early in the study that there is one slide missing. That's interesting. Okay, that's not not showing the picture. So I'm gonna take it from here and try to freestyle it. So we were identifying that some companies or organizations from these segments are rather active and some are silent. What we mean by active is that these companies are publicly showing that they're working in the field of autonomous systems. So they're either offering a product or they're offering services, and they are saying it out loud. But also we were seeing that some companies might be interested doing so in the future, but that they're not communicating about it. The most active AMS participants that we had were in the field of suppliers, and the least active were in the field of offshore. This is also representing in kind of the feedback that was coming from the companies that we asked to participate our survey. Most feedback was coming from shipping, followed by suppliers and harbors. And only limited feedback was coming from hinterland logistics, shipbuilding, and offshore.
This already brings us to the limitations of our study. In the different segments, we saw a very differing amount of participation. So in the segments of shipping, suppliers, and harbors, we had relatively high number of active companies identified in the early stages of the project, and we had high response rates in the participants of the study. The companies that we answered were willing to really respond to this in greater number. And therefore, we see the statements made by these segments or in these segments as relatively robust and representative for the market. A different situation presented itself with the shipbuilding, offshore, and hinterland logistics segments, where we had a relatively small number of active companies in the beginning and relatively low response rates as well in the participation of the study. So the statements here should be taken with a bit of a grain of salt. They are not as representative as the statements in the before mentioned or aforementioned segments, and should rather be seen as sentiments of individual companies rather than representative for the market as a whole. We then tried to classify the different segments along the innovation cycle, and we did this along the framework of the diffusion theory by Rogers, where we categorized them into 3 of the 6 available categories, which are innovators, early adopters, and early majority. These different segments are characterized mainly by their risk appetite. So the innovators are typically the companies who move first, who chase these early winnings, who want to materialize any gains in terms of efficiency as the first ones. Then after they have kindly demonstrated a little bit that this can work, the early adopters move in. They are typically opinion leaders who sort of prepare the field. They take the demonstrated innovations from the innovators and try to adopt them as well. And then they really pave the way for the early majority, which comes afterwards, who are a little bit more risk averse and expect a higher level of technological maturity. So where do our companies fall, or our segments fall in this categorization? We see that the companies that responded in the segments of offshore hinterland logistics and shipbuilding fall more into the region of the innovators, who are the early ones who move ahead of the curve. And this is then followed by harbors, then the shipping industry, and then the suppliers, who are expecting a little bit more of maturity before they can actually start using AMS in their operations, in their business, or until they are really willing to adopt it.
What are the main evaluations or general outcomes? So we notified that there is a positive attitude towards AMS, and that expectations regarding AMS are on average pretty high. Then we noticed that the assessment of active and silent correlates with the experience that they have in that field of AMS. And we also learned that 31 companies are performing research and development or conducting it on their own to further development the technology. Regarding the strategy of business models, we learned that 30 companies plan to position themselves in the market with their own products in the very near future, or are already doing it. Interesting for the German market, and since it was a German study we highlighted here, none of the German participants are thriving for leadership in their segments. This is more to Scandinavian companies.
So building on that, why are companies interested in or in this market, or why are they not? So let's talk about a little bit why they aren't. So what are the market barriers that we could derive from the statements made in the survey? We classify them along 3 areas of uncertainty, really. Uncertainty is obviously always the enemy of innovation. However, we see 3 different kinds of uncertainty in the AMS market. First of all, there's regulatory uncertainty, first and foremost. So there's a distinct lack of comprehensive legal frameworks and regulations. The same goes for approval and classification standards. This is then followed by market uncertainty, which pertains safety, first and foremost. So there's considerable doubt or uncertainty connected with safety, which links back to the missing legal frameworks and the standards, since there's just little empirical data on safety, even though all studies that are being conducted point at an increase of safety due to AMS. The same sort of goes for profitability and capital intensity. While it has been shown through studies that there is a higher cost advantage or higher cost efficiency to be expected due to AMS, since the systems being developed now have to comply to standards which are not existing yet, this in and of itself presents itself as a risk and is a driver of uncertainty in the market. And the same goes for the social acceptance. We just don't know how society as a whole and the companies will accept AMS, will trust the technology enough to actually accept its widespread use. Then there's some technological uncertainty as well. I mean, the technical feasibility is being more and more demonstrated. However, since again, the standards are not known yet that people have to comply to in the future, there is worry that the technologies being developed right now might not be in actual compliance in the future. Also, there's some sort of a secondary uncertainty concerning the know-how, the availability of know-how and skilled workers, skilled personnel to really drive these innovations. So there, a lot of people are worrying that they might just need more skills and more know-how in their companies.
Okay, so what can we do to overcome these barriers? One question that we addressed to the participants was what, in their opinion, would be key innovations to get a better widespread commercial use of AMS in general. So to prepare the whole technology, it is needed that the digital infrastructure and improved sensors would be available in the very near future. Another key innovation that is needed is about safety and reliability of the system. So some companies are not really trusting the new technology. And one of the main key needed innovations is, as already addressed by Julius, the regulatory framework. So this is that there would this need for the companies that they feel certain about their products and also about their business models. We learned that companies and all the companies that participated in general, they were aware of 11 national and 10 international funding programs. But we also learned that some companies are not aware of any funding opportunities for their products. And this is one of the outcomes that we learned, that it would be good for companies to have these opportunities. So we need to communicate more, and this would give them assurance or more certainty to develop these products and feel good about future business models. There are also, of course, some limitations to the autonomy. So current activities that are not covered or not sufficiently covered by AMS are regarding maneuvering and behavioring, especially in dangerous situations or in hazardous situations. Maintenance and servicing is a problem for most companies, and they don't see a solution to that. And also the process of loading and unloading in terms of cargo and shipping.
So now we have spoken about the market barriers, the key innovations needed. What are the potentials, though, that we see in the market that we can derive from the study? And the main opportunities are, in general, first of all, very positive expectations in the market throughout all segments towards AMS. So there is a positive outlook, and we see this as a strong sign that there is a growing potential in the market. Also, all surveyed segments acknowledge that there is a strong potential for increased safety, reliability, and cost efficiency. Do we have feedback here? Yeah. So this, and also the fact that 31 companies have, or 31 research and development projects are currently ongoing in the market, which are financed by the companies themselves to a large extent, is by us seen or interpreted as a sign that the companies are willing to put the money where their mouth is and are willing to invest in this technology once it matures even more. And even at this very early stage right now. And then another thing we see as a main opportunity in terms of also the main uncertainty and main risks concerning the regulatory framework is that currently the current legal frameworks as they are existing allow the use of AMS stage 1, autonomy level 1, which is basically support systems, decision support systems, awareness support systems, stuff like that. And this provides the opportunity to bring these systems on board now in ports, for build subsystems, all the stuff, bring them on board now, generate the data sets needed for regulators, for research, for insurances, to really give this development a little bit more of a drive and then push it forward into the right direction. Of course, we also see that while the expectation for autonomy levels, for the efficiency gains in autonomy levels 3 and 4, meaning unmanned vessels, is higher, there's also, of course, higher uncertainty connected to these concepts.
Yeah, that was it. That was a very brief overview. Thank you, Julius. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if you come up with some questions later on, feel free to address them to us. You can contact us via email. We are available on Teams, or you can also give us a call. So you can, of course, still post a question in the chat, but if you feel we will not be able to answer them in an extent that you are looking for, please feel free to contact us. The study is of greater extent than what we presented here, and we'll be happy to share more results with you. Is there anything to add from your side, Julius? Oh, there is a question coming up.
I think we have some questions coming in right now.
Yeah, I see them in. So please, Karen von Hühnerbein, if you might be willing to ask your question and open the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice presentation. Which German companies are involved in research projects for AMS?
Unfortunately, this is confidential. So
okay.
there's some confidentiality involved in the survey. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten such a comprehensive result in the answers as well. So we had to guarantee confidentiality, and we cannot really give you individual companies' names at this point.
Yeah, there's another question.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for the talk. Here's Ronald from DLR. I would like to ask a bit in this direction, very similar to the previous questionnaire. Why don't German companies try to become these market leaders? I mean, is there a single reason for this? And especially when you compare them to Scandinavian companies, why are they trying to do this and why are the Germans not trying to do it?
I mean, this is obviously speculative. Jonathan, it's okay. Is it fine if I answer this? Yeah. So it's a little bit speculative, but something that we see is that in Scandinavia, there's a lot more flexibility in terms of regulatory frameworks. There's also a much longer coastline that is completely owned by one country, which allows national regulators to come up with some sort of a solution for a lot of projects, which you also see in the big R&D projects concerning autonomous shipping being conducted in Scandinavia. Here in Germany, we are a little bit slower in terms of adopting and changing our regulations, and our different regulatory frameworks are a lot more fragmentalized. So fragmented is the word I'm looking for. So I think you can already see where this is going, right? It's a much more difficult process to be an innovation leader in a more bureaucratic and a little bit more risk-averse environment, which the German market usually presents itself as.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there are also additional comments in the chat from our colleague Hans-Christoph Burmeister, who was the lead author of the study. Our time is unfortunately up. Like I already said, there are questions coming up. Feel free to contact us. Take a look at the study itself. There is more information given, and if you find anything in there that raises more questions, just contact us about it. This was this week's MIU. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much for your questions. Next week, there will be no MIU. So you need to find something else for your lunch break, but we will be happy to have you here back in 2 weeks. So this is February 15th. Our dear colleague, Robert Grundmann, he will present one of his favorite assets that we have at Fraunhofer CML is the mobile ship simulator. He will present some of the results from the Beyond project and what he and his team used the mobile simulator for. Looking forward to have you back. Thank you, Julius, once again. And then from my side, that's it. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend and see you next time.